Hello, good day friend. Welcome to Array Methods in JavaScript tutorial. In JavaScript, the array has a lot of useful methods other than pop and push, like map, filter, reduce, etc. You should know those methods not only to write pro JavaScript code, but also to reduce your coding efforts. Like just to sort an array, you need not write a logic yourself, but you can use the out-of-the-box sort method. Now let us see all these methods in action. Okay, so these are the methods we are going to cover, that is concat, copyWithin, and you can see all these methods. Okay, so let me drag it down. So these are all the methods we are going to cover. So okay, now let's start with concat. So what concat does, it concats two arrays. Okay, so if I take 5, 6, 7, okay, of course I want to log it. And also I have to check whether it modifies the original array or not. Control L, Control Enter. Yeah, so here you go. You see this array and this array got concatenated here, and it didn't modify the original array. Now the next method is copyWithin. So as the name says, so it copies within the array the part of an array. So if I want to put 2, 3, this to this part of the array to another position like here, so the resultant array would look like this. So what I have to do, I have to put in index 0. It starts from 1 to this is the second index, first index, second index. So you should put 3. 3 is not inclusive, so it will take 1 to 2. So now you see 2, 3, 3, 4. Okay, and it modifies the original array. The next one is every. What every does, it checks whether all the elements of the array satisfies a particular condition. Like if I want to check that whether all the elements are greater than 5 or not. So no, none of them are. Or if I want to check are greater than 2. So some of them are greater than 2, some of them are not. So not all the elements. So it is false and it doesn't modify the original array. There is another method known as entries, which returns an iterator object, which we can see using an advanced spread operator. What it returns is this combination of index and the value as key as value in an array form inside this array. So it returns an array object, and it said that there are children arrays where you have keys and values. So that how entries returns. Now with entries there are two methods comes which look similar. So those are like keys and values. So keys only contains the indexes and values only contains the values. Okay, so if I run this, you see these are the indexes and these are the values. Okay, now I would like to also and it doesn't modify the original array, of course, because it's just returning. And I want to show you what exactly entries return. It returns an iterator object where you can, by next calling next, you can get the next entries. Okay, after entries there is a method known as fill, which what it does, it fills the array, all the elements, it replaces all the elements of the array with whatever value you put here. Now you see it also modifies the original array. Now if you don't put anything, what it would do, it would simply put undefined. So just take a note. Also you can convert part of the array. Say I only want to put 0 for this 2, so this is 0 index 1, and then up to 3rd, I mean 3 is not inclusive. So you see these two got replaced with 0, and the thing is that it modifies the original array. After fill, there is another method called filter. What fill, as the name suggests, the filter filters the array. So if you want to get from an array the elements which satisfies the condition, so which are greater than say 2, so in that case this is 3 and 4, so you can run filter, so it returns an array. Now what will happen if you have a condition where none of the elements satisfies it? In that case empty array will be returned. Okay, and you can check that by length property. Sorry. Okay, see, it will come 0. Now after filter, there is another method which is very similar to filter, that is find. Okay, so it also does the same thing, but find only returns the first element which satisfies the condition. So if I run, instead of 3 and 4, it will only return the 3. So it returns the 3. And in case you have a condition where none of the elements satisfies, in that case it returns undefined. So this is a very important point to note. Find also have another thing called findIndex, where it would return the index of the first element which satisfies the condition. So in that case 3, it will be 2. You see, in case where the none of the elements satisfies the condition, it would return -1. You see, this is what. Okay, there are another important method that is called flat. What flat does actually, so if you have an array, many times you will get by API call a complex array where you have array inside array, and you want to get a simpler structure, flat structure. In that case you can call flat method. So if you call flat, what it will do, it will flatten the array and it returns a new array. It doesn't modify the original array. Okay, that is an important thing to note. Now one question can come into your mind, that what will happen if I have a deeply nested structure like this. So array inside an array and another array inside this second level array. So in that case, if I run this, you see that the newly returned array, it could only flatten till depth 1. So to flatten till a depth which you want, you can mention the depth here, and in that case it will flatten the complete thing. Now there is another important method like flatMap. What it does, say you want to flat this array but you don't want to return 5 out of it. Okay, so you want to filter it. In that case you can it's just about adding some condition. So I will come to isArray. All it does, it's a static method in array object. So all it does, it checks whether an object is array or not, what you passed, and I'm using a ternary operator where it checks that if it is an array, do some operation on top of it. That is, I just want to apply filter to it, and so I don't want to return 5. So now if I run it, so you see it flattened the array but it didn't return 5. So I added some kind of conditions. With flat you cannot do it, you can just only mention the depth. There is another very heavily used method, that is for each. Now for each returns undefined. Okay, it reads element by element and you can do whatever operation you want on that element. You can pass it to a function and function can do whatever it wants, but it returns undefined. So if I run it, you see it returns undefined and it never modifies the original array. So instead of now, yeah, so you can do some operation, right? You can console log those. Okay, for the sake of simplicity, let me simplify the array so that we can quickly understand. Yeah, so let me close this. Yeah, so here it is. You see 1 2 3 4 got printed because of this console log, and then undefined because for each returns undefined. Okay, now there is another method that is it's a static method in array object. So that takes an array and you can do some operation to its element. So it would, and then you can return a new array. Okay, so if I run this, so you see like that. So sometimes what happens from API, if you get an array, you can just run this and return a new array, doing some operation, passing some function, and it doesn't modify the original array. And then there is you can do includes is a method which checks whether an element is exists inside an array or not. So it returns booleans, true or false. It doesn't modify the original array. So if I pass some element which doesn't exist, it will return false, like that. There is another method called indexOf, which returns the index of the element. Okay, so if I run it, see 2 is the index of the element. Now if I pass some element which doesn't exist in that array, so -1 will be returned. And I also told that whether array.isArray, so it's a static method in an array object, so it checks whether an element is an array or not. Okay, so it returns boolean. Okay, and it doesn't modify the original array. Now there is another good method which many a time we use, that is join. Say you want to join all the elements and want to form a string, so you can do it in this way. So it would return like that 1 2 3 4, or if you want to do it like this. So it is very nicely, it is doing that. Sometimes what happens, it is being used is, say you got an array of words and you want to put them into a sentence. You can do it like this. Okay, that way you can do. Also, then there is keys I already discussed. Okay, so there is another, say you have a array like this where you see that 3 is present multiple times. So if I want to get the last index of any element, we can use this method. Okay, so if I pass the element and if I run it, you see the 5 is the last index of it. Okay, and it doesn't modify the original array. And there is this is a very important method, very heavily used in React project. So map, what map does, it iterates over an array, and then you can pass a function to map, and the function will be applied onto this each of the element, and then a new array will be returned from the map. Okay, so each element I will get, and if I want to just for the sake of simple example, so that you can grasp the concept, so what it would return, it would multiply each of the elements. So for the sake of simplicity, it will reduce the array and run it. So if you see, it just got multiplied. Okay, so this is how it is. So if I do it like so it would do it this way. Okay, so that's how it is. And then there is another method called push, which is like this. So you can push some element to it. So if I do this, you see, push returns the length, that is the 5, and this is it modifies the original array. So original array was this, so it inserts an element at the end of the array. So you can insert multiple element to it in the same method call. So it returns, and it returns the length. Okay, it modifies the original array. So push is very heavily used. Pop is like it returns the last element. Okay, and if I run it, so it would return 4 and 1 2 3. Okay, like that. So now if you want to reverse the array, there is one method. That's what I was telling, that you need not write logic yourself. You can just straight away use these methods and see it reverse the array. Okay, say you want to do the summation. Now you need not write a loop yourself. So for a pro JavaScript coding, you can just straight away use reduce function. So it takes an accumulator and each of the elements, and then you can accumulate it and you can return it. Okay, so this is just like this, you get 10. Now say you can also have some initial values for this accumulator. Okay, so this is, say I want to start from 10, so it will become now 20. Yeah, like that. Okay, so then after reduce, okay, so now we have functions like there is one function called sort. So if you want to sort an array, so now 1 2 3 4 it's not sorted. So if I do it like this, like that, and if I want to sort it, you see it is sorted. Okay, now you want to sort it in reverse order. Sort it, it takes a function where it passes the elements 1 and 2, and then it checks what it returns. Okay, so if it is a minus b, okay, now if I, so it sorts in incremental order. Now if I do b minus a, it will sort in decreasing way. So this is how you can use the inbuilt sort function. Okay, there is one very important method, sum. So if you want to check, for the sake of simplicity, let me reduce the size. So if you want to check that each array satisfies, some of the elements satisfies the condition or not, so you can do it like this. If it is greater than 2, it does return true because some of the elements satisfied. So this is there is another method called every. So here is also sum, every for each of the elements, and sum is for some of the elements. So true. So if it is like something which none of those satisfies, so it will return false. Okay, it doesn't modify the original array. Then there is like two of the very important method. One is slice and another one is splice. So generally in interview you will face this question, what is the difference between slice and splice? So first let me go with slice. So slice slices part of an array and returns a new array, and it doesn't modify the original array. So let us see. So say you want to take 1, and from here, okay, so the next one is the non-inclusive. So if I take 0 1 2 3, so if I take 3, it will 3 minus 1 2, so 2 elements it will take, and it will return a original array, new array. So 2 and 3, it took 2 and 3, and 1 2 3 4, the original array remains the same. Now you may not know the length of an array, and you want to return till the last, so like 2 3 4, so 2 3 4, okay, like that. So if you start from 2, it will return 3 4, and it will not modify the original array. Also you can do from 1 minus 1, that last but the next element before the last element. So it will start from this element and it will go till this. Okay, 2 3. Now if I add 5, it will return 2 3 4, like that. Okay, so that's how it works. Now this is about slice. For the sake of simplicity, let me do this. Okay, 2 3. Now let's go to splice. Now let me hide it. Now what splice does, splice modifies the original array. Okay, so it's say it starts index, and then say it starts from 1 and the length. So if I say 1 to 2 elements, so 2 3 will be taken off and 1 4 5 will remain there. So let's see this. You see 2 3 has been taken off and 1 4 5 modified the original array. That is the contrast between slice and splice. Now in splice, if I remove this and if I run this, you see it will take till end and it will only leave the first element. Okay, after splice we have another method called shift. So what it does, this is this takes off the first element. So it will take off 1, like pop takes off last element, shift takes off first element. So it takes off 1, okay, like that. So after that you have another method called unshift, which is like push. It pushes element at the beginning of the array. So if I do, yeah, you see it returns the length and it modifies the original array and inserts at the beginning. So if I do 0 8 9, so like push, it push inserts at the end, unshift insert at the beginning.